So,
hi, I'm Ray.
I'm James.
And we're going to have a little talk.
Yes, it's our new video podcast. It's probably going to be a rubbish in the beginning, but YouTube videos are really a bit rubbish in the beginning. They don't start great.
Yes. Well, we don't have ABC Network's
budget.
Right. Now we're going to talk about just about anything and everything. Nothing's taboo. Depending on what you want to do. James has got a bit of a science bent, so he'll wander off on that tangent. I have a crazy bent, so I'll wander off on any tangent.
Oh yeah, I also do the crazy thing as well. I'm a bit of a crazy tangent, being as we are genetically related. We should probably mention we're father and son. They probably figured this out already.
Yes, because I'm the good-looking one.
No, he's the delusional one, not necessarily the good-looking one.
Right. Well, first up, I just want to make a mention of the sad passing of Leonard Nimoy. In fact, that I'll miss him greatly.
I mean, yeah, he's definitely had an influence. I mean, Star Trek is just such a big cultural thing around the world. It's had such a big cultural influence, and in fact, I think he initially got fed up of being identified. Everywhere he goes is, oh, that's Spock. But when he was late in his life, when he was tweeting, he would sign off almost every tweet with LLAP, live long and prosper. That's now trending on Twitter now.
Oh right. Well, he prospered. He didn't live long enough, as far as I'm concerned, but he did prosper.
Well, yeah, smoking for 30 years will do that to you.
Yeah, stunts your growth.
Yeah.
That's my excuse. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. This is the thing. Also, the fact that he had COPD.
Yes.
Didn't help.
Yeah. One thing I'd like to say when I'd like to introduce to our little video is talking about a book each week. Now, it's just a book that we might have read or something. But James, do you have a favourite book?
I'm not a big reader. I'm not really a big reader. I mean, the extent of my reading is the occasional Star Wars novel, and I've read The Fault in Our Stars.
Well, talk about The Fault in Our Stars.
Well, it's made by John Green, very famous YouTuber, and yes, I am a nerd fighter, very much so. But yeah, it's John Green. John Green stuff is not. Please, internet, don't hate me. But John Green stuff isn't that great. But I think it's probably his best book so far. He's getting better at it. But it's basically, as most of, the interwebs would know, and yes, I talk with my hands a lot, is that it was his two teenagers, both going to this church-based cancer support group. One's called Hazel Grace, and she's got lung cancer. And there's another one called Augustus, who is in remission for bone cancer, and they fall in love in this cancer group together, and they and I'll look at the lens, not the viewfinder. That will work too. Basically, they fall in love in this this cancer group, but and there sort of is the point of it is that their love is due to unfortunate circumstances. That's why it's called The Fault in Our Stars, because it's a Shakespearean quote to say that, the fate is in ourselves, not in the stars. That's the reverse of that, to say that their cancer was not their fault, it just happened.
Right. The book I'd like to talk about is The Year of Living Aimlessly. The premise from the author is that he bought a second-hand computer, and on the computer was somebody's diary. And so he tidied it up and published it. And it's quite a funny read. A few twists and turns. If I talk too much about it, I'll sort of give the story away. But needless to say, A Year of Living Aimlessly is a good read and well worth, if you can find it, checking it out. Yeah, right.
What else do we want to sort of run here on our little video podcast?
Give us something in science.
Something in science. I'm not really... Hey, my brother / his other son is currently sitting off camera giving us strange gestures, but
jazz hands.
Jazz hands. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure really what to talk because I do chemistry is more my bent. I really like chemistry. But I don't think there's anything new in sort of the fields of chemistry at the moment. But
that mini planet or microplanet near Jupiter, have you heard anything about that? They were going to investigate that.
No, I haven't.
Well, apparently there's a push to put it into and count it as a planet. It's the...
Oh, I had heard something about there was going to be 9 planets again.
The asteroid belt is near Jupiter, is it not?
It's between Mars and Jupiter, yes.
Yes, well it's in that. It's the biggest object in that. And then, because Pluto sits out in the
Kuiper belt.
The Kuiper belt. And they're hoping there's a push to put Pluto back in as well.
But they found that, because the thing is though, the reason they downgraded it to a dwarf planet was because it hadn't, it's in the Kuiper belt, which is basically the second asteroid belt, essentially. But it hadn't cleared its own orbit of debris, and also that, because to be a planet really it has to have cleared its own orbit of debris.
Right.
So, you know, that's why we don't have asteroid impacts annually. But it's found other, like...
That would make life exciting.
It would! I mean, stargazing would be great, but the slight risk of you just, you know, driving along and just a meteor falls through your car, I can see the problem.
Yeah, well, they know about this in Russia.
Yeah, we'll tell you, Binks. What actually happened there was, see, that happened because it was happening in the, you know, in sort of the cooler months of the year, and their daylight, because they're closer to the poles, of course, their sunrise in that time of year doesn't happen until nearly 9 o'clock. And so, early in the morning, there was this huge bright thing in the sky, so they all went to the windows to see what the huge bright thing was. There was a massive sonic boom which shattered all the windows, and all the windows shattered into people's faces.
Drawback. But
Yeah.
in 1918, forest was flattened in Siberia
Yes.
by an airburst meteor, was it?
They suspect that also might have been a comet as well, because it actually exploded before it hit the ground.
Yeah, it was an
'Cause
airburst. Yeah.
Comets are full of ice. It's the main thing between an asteroid and a comet. Comets are full of ice. That's why they have the tail as they go around the sun. And so basically the vapor pressure built up inside. This is the main hypothesis: is the vapor pressure built up inside the comet that hit and it exploded before the ground. It just flattened everything.
Yeah, is it Arizona? They have a large crater.
No, are you talking about the one that?
It's just a crater. It's one of the last intact craters left.
I can't remember.
It's in the United States, in the desert somewhere in the United States.
It is. They suspect that the one that wiped the dinosaurs out
Hit in the Yucatan Peninsula?
Yes, it happened off, in the Mexican Gulf somewhere. They've actually found evidence that something hit there. Actually, the reason that theory came about initially was because roughly 65 million years ago, if they dig down in the geological record,
They find gravel everywhere.
well, they find high amounts of iridium. Strangely huge amounts of iridium in a particular layer of rock. And asteroids tend to be very high in iridium because on Earth the reason it's a rare element because that's why gold is rare and platinum is rare because it keeps sinking into the Earth, down to its core. But they found this, and then it was like it had happened to line up with when a large group of dinosaur fossils ended, and so about this time that's when they think. Maybe, and then that's when they found the crater, the evidence of a crater in the base of the Mexican Gulf. That's what they suspect happened.
Right, okay. And on a truly related subject, James and I both like a computer game called Openttd, TTD, and we wouldn't mind knowing if there's any other people out there that quite like that game.
There's a few. There's a mob on the internet. They have several different channels. They're called Yogscast. If you're wondering why we keep looking down, by the way, it's because our show notes are on the laptop down here, which we now see in the reflections of our glasses. That's good. Might want to turn the screen down. I can't do that. If I did that, I would be as blind as a bat.
Well, bats aren't actually blind.
I know bats aren't actually, they have very good eyesight. It's just people assume because they use sonar in the dark, that's their clicking noise, that's what they use it for, echolocation.
Although I have seen a bat fly into a tree.
Maybe it was actually blind. Well, assuming, I mean...
It was about dusk and it came scooting out of somewhere and went boom, into a tree and boom, onto the ground. But it seemed to sort itself out sometime later and wasn't there.
I've seen birds go headlong into panes of glass because they register slightly different wavelengths of light to mammals, and so yeah, they sometimes have trouble picking up panes of glass, so they go headlong into panes of glass.
I've had birds try and run away from a car when I've been driving. I leaned out the window and yelled at the bird, "Fly!"
I actually had an Indian. I used to work for a motor factor and to be their delivery driver. And one time there was like the car was, I can't remember. I think the actual, because we had a Holden Rodeo pickup, or you depending on where you live, what you call it. But we had a I think it was running a bit warmer than usual, and I noticed there was an Indian minor bird, you know, the brown with the yellow and the white wing tips. There was one of those wedged inside the grill, blocking airflow. So we had a client, a panel beater. There was a panel beater not far from the shop. We went over there and pulled up and went, how much to pull the bird out of the grill? Because we had to take the whole grill off to get the bird out. And they took the grill and they went, no, don't worry about it. It's all good.
Yes, I've had the same problem with a sparrow. It was embedded in the grill of my Holden.
Birds are meant to be intelligent, but sometimes they do. Well, like humans are meant to be intelligent, but sometimes humans do stupid things.
Yes, I found with pigeons that they'll actually teach other pigeons. They did experiments, and pigeons will teach other pigeons where food is.
It's interesting.
Yes, yes.
I know, was it in the United States? I think they found I can't remember where it was, but crows actually fit, because actually the crow family is the most intelligent species, genus
they're
of
the
bird.
ones that use the traffic lights to break
nuts.
Yes.
Yeah, so they'll pull up at a light, the cars will stop at the light, they'll put a nut underneath, or just in front of the car tyre, and get the car to crack the nut, and then it will take off with the nut. But yeah, crows, ravens, magpies and butchers are all in that genus, and they're the most intelligent birds of any bird.
I know crows are the most annoying birds of any birds.
Oh yeah, their mating, at least they're honest with their mating call.
Yes, they state what they want to do.
They're honest and upfront. You can't whinge about that.
That's true. Yes, they don't beat about the bush. They stand on top of a tree and say what they want.
Yes. Actually, we were getting back to our video game, Openttd.
Yes.
Initially. This is what it's tangents. This will happen all the time, just as a rule. But it started out, didn't it start out, it started out, because there was Railroad Tycoon back on like 286s, 486s, back in the day, and then the same guy, Chris Sawyer, from MicroProse, made Transport Tycoon, so instead of just trains, you have trains, road vehicles, planes, and ships as well.
Yes.
And you basically build up your thing. And eventually, I think the source code got released to the public eventually, because people kept patching his work, and so rather than chasing copyright, I just released it to the public.
Yeah, well, he's probably made $1 out of it.
And probably too. It's one of the most, it is extremely popular video game. But there's a mob called Openttd.org, and they upgrade this game, and you can download it for free off the thing. If I can maybe put it in the video description, possibly. Put it in there so you can, if you want to try it out, download it. If you like business sims, or if you just like me, just like trains.
I like trains.
I like trains. Thank you, Tom Scar, for that. Just saying.
Yes. What about Transantarctica?
Transantarctica. That is a movie.
Arctic Barren, depending on which end of the world you know it as.
Which yes, if you're in North America, it's called Arctic Barren. If you're anywhere else in the English-speaking world, or even in France where it was actually made. It was called Transantarctica. It's loosely based on a novel called The Ice Company, and I can't remember the guy who wrote it. But in the book, it's set. The game itself is set in the 28th century, but there's in the books in the 22nd century there's an accident, a nuclear accident on the moon, and what happens? The dust from the moon falls down Earth-Moon energy gravity well and surrounds the Earth in dust, blocking the sun and creating an ice age, nuclear winter. In the video game, I think I might spoilers just if you don't want to hear. But I think the video game, there was an experiment to fix climate change, and they used nuclear warheads to throw dust up to block the sun out to fix it, but it worked a bit too well.
Yes.
And now,
a bit over-efficient.
Yeah, a little over-efficient. Yeah, geoengineering's great, but it can go wrong, basically. But what has happened is that because railway is the main sort of mode of long-distance transport, roads are useless because there's just so much ice everywhere. So steam train is the most efficient way of getting around, hence Transantarctica. But you're basically a fringe religious group who is trying to overthrow the corporation which basically runs the world, runs the railways and therefore the world.
The Viking Union.
The Viking Union, yes, that's the baddies, yes. Yeah. Although if you're a fringe religious group, extremist religious group, maybe you're a bit of an anti-hero if you're, yeah, you know what I mean? If you're...
Yes. One of the things I find very strange with this game is how you get out of it.
Yes, you have to, yes, you can save your game, but if you want to quit, you've got to go into the main quarters you've got to click on the main quarters, because there's like a little menu down the bottom, and you have the engine, so you can go in there and make sure everyone's shoveling coal and you're at the right speed and everything. But also, you can click on, like, your ordnances carriage, I think, and talk to your army and everything, and then you've got the main quarters, where you sleep and everything.
Yeah.
But what you do is, to quit, you have to click, there's a picture of a gun on a desk.
A revolver on the desk, yes, you have to click on the revolver and commit suicide, which is, strikes me as a little strange.
Yes, but the game, I think, is a little strange.
It's a great game. You can play it on 2 levels. The graphics are 286 rubbish, but
yeah,
you can play it as a trading game, buying and selling goods, accumulating wealth. You can play it, and in that you have train battles where you've got, you know, armed trains fighting one another, and then you can actually solve the mystery and end the nuclear winter, which is the hard part. Yes. And this Viking Union, because they've repressed this information, because this is centuries after this nuclear winter has started, and so no one actually, because the Viking Union oppresses the fact that Earth is actually not supposed to be a giant snowball, and that there's an actual... It's not.
It's not. And then there's this thing in the centre called the sun, that, you know, provides heat. No one actually knows about this, because the Viking Union actually oppresses this information.
So that little thermonuclear fusion thing out in space a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. That's what makes
8 minutes if you're travelling at the speed of light.
Yeah, that's what stops us being like frozen over.
Oh, okay.
Interesting fact, though, off on a tangent. This will happen a lot. Tangents. Is that they're suspecting one of the hypotheses about how life started on Earth is that because they've found organic molecules on asteroids and comets, that comets actually hit the Earth at some point in its formation that happened to have these organic molecules, and the conditions were just so for chemical reactions to start.
Well, it only has to happen in one spot.
Yeah.
Once it's started, it will keep going, essentially. But the other question is, where did they come from to be on the asteroids and the comet? Have they been smashed off another planet somewhere?
Yes.
After an impact, or
well, what they're thinking was when the universe was only a couple of tens of million years old.
Oh, so an infant universe. Yes.
Yeah, an infant universe.
Did it show wobblies like a 2-year-old, or?
Yeah, probably. But it was actually still warm enough for rogue planets to have liquid water. These are hypotheses. There's no hard evidence yet of this. But they're suspecting that something may have come off one of these rogue planets at some point, and that's how we got, and life may have existed on rogue planets in the very early universe. Right. We don't know.
Okay. Well, do you realise we've been talking now for, well, it's now 10 to 8, and we've been on there since before 7:30.
So we've been 20 minutes?
Well, in fact, we've been nearly half an hour.
Well, that works. Well, podcasts usually run half an hour to an hour. That works, yes.
Okay, well,
I think that's about it, isn't it?
Yeah, this is our first one, so it may be a little bit short, but anyway.
Yeah, well, look, if this takes off, we'll keep doing it, and
yeah,
hopefully this will be our little thing.
Yes.
Probably every, once a week?
Yeah, probably once a week.
Yeah.
Get exciting.
Yeah, because we've been talking half now. We may edit, editing and what have you. It may not end up being half an hour, but yeah. So yeah, if you like the video, subscribe to us. Hit the like button.
Yep.
We'll.
If you don't, go away.
Yeah, essentially. Yes. Don't hit the like button. We don't like that.
Yeah, if you don't like us, don't like us.
Essentially, if you find, just don't go, you're boring in the comments. Don't we know, we understand this is not the
No,
best.
I don't understand that when people, like in TV shows, I watched this TV show for its entire length and it was terrible. Well, here's the plan. You have the ultimate power. Go over and hit the off button.
No one's making you watch a TV. No one's chaining you to a chair and you must watch this television. No one's saying that. In fact, it's like, oh, I find this TV show offensive. There's certain, particularly now we have high-def digital television. Get your remote, change the channel. Like,
yes.
And particularly on the internet, go look something else up on YouTube. Like,
I have a friend, Will. He has a saying, and I love it. And he says, if I haven't offended you yet, be patient. I'll get to you shortly.
Yes.
So we'll do our best.
Yes, we will. Alright. Well, we will wind it up, or we...
Yep. Alright.
Well, yeah,
catch you on the dark side.
Yes. Come to the dark side. We have cookies.